When we study consumer behavior, one of the most important things for marketers is how consumers make purchasing decisions. So let's spend a few minutes and look at the consumer purchasing decision process. Pretend with me that the blue box is a consumer, a person who is making a choice of products and services. We'll note that there are a number of influences of that particular purchase decision. There are social influences from friends, families, coworkers, people that we interact with. There are various marketing influences, including advertising and sales promotion, the messages that marketers try to send to influence us to their brand. There are situational influences, the reason for the specific purchase. And within the person himself or herself, we have all of these psychological influences that start with motivation and end with attitudes that are developed about a particular product or service category or a particular brand. All of these come together for a specific consumer decision-making process. The stages of the decision-making process are listed here. And the first one is very, very important. The consumer recognizes that there's a need or that there is some problem that they are trying to solve with a particular product category or service category. Need recognition is the starting point where the consumer recognizes some unsatisfied need or want. It's triggered by either the internal stimuli, the psychological makeup of the consumer, or some cue like, I'm hungry, I need to have a meal. Or it's stimulated by some external stimuli, like a friend or a coworker talking about a particular product or service that they've purchased and used recently. But this triggering mechanism is very, very important, and it's tied to then the other psychological influences, perception of the environment and the choices that are available, the attitude that the consumer has about the product category or particular brands. Attitudes are often formed based on past experience. And then there's motivation. And the key to consumer purchase behavior for marketers is that the motivation must be high enough for the consumer to act. We all have kind of unexpressed wants and desires that do not get triggered as purchasing behavior, but the ones that do get triggered as purchasing behavior are the most important to marketers. So this first stage is very, very important. But let's say that the consumer recognizes a need or a problem. Where do they go from there? Well, the next stage is an information search. And consumers search in two basic places. The first place that they search is within their own heads. How have I satisfied this problem before? Was I happy with the result? Or do I want to seek further alternatives? If we decide to look out for other alternatives, then we go on to stage 3. We evaluate the various alternatives. This may involve today an internet search, a simple, quick search on our smartphone, for example, to look for close by places to purchase the product or service and maybe even do some comparison shopping before we go out into the retail world. After we choose the alternative, then we actually go and make the purchase. And we can purchase it via our smartphone to have it delivered to us, or we can go out to a retail store and make the purchase. But that purchase is very, very important to the marketer, but it's also followed then by a post-purchase evaluation. Almost every product or service that we buy requires us as a human being to say to ourselves, how'd it go? How did we like that? Would we do that again? Even if it's just a passing thought about lunch that we consume today. Did we like the lunch? Was it good for us, healthy for us? Do we want to go to that restaurant again? So these are the key stages of the consumer decision-making process. It's also important to note that there are various types of decision-making, and they exist on a scale from extensive decision-making, where we have to gather a lot of information to be able to make a decision, and it may take time to do it. Think about purchasing a new car or a home or maybe even a computer. Or how about your choice of Grand Canyon University as a school to attend? That probably was not a snap decision for most people. So it's extensive purchase or decision-making behavior. In the middle, we have what's called limited decision-making. We may search some alternatives, we may do some evaluation type tests, but we come to a decision fairly quickly. This might be for clothing, or it might be for a fancy meal where we want to take a significant other. There's more involved than just making a snap decision, but it's not on the order of buying a house or a car. And then, of course, there's the routine decision-making that we do every day. Hey, where are we going to go for lunch? Gosh, got to run to the grocery store and buy cereal, and I'll resort to the brand that I always buy and eat every morning. Routine decision-making involves little in the way of actual thinking, deliberation, the information that's needed for the decision-making process. So in the end, why is consumer behavior important? Well, marketing managers have to find out what the needs and the wants are for a particular product and how it satisfies consumers' wants and needs. We also have to discover what unsatisfied needs and wants consumers have for which a new product or new service could be developed. This is what fuels the overall new product, new service development process. And then as marketing managers, we must develop the satisfying products and services, price those products appropriately so that consumers realize that they're getting a value, and then communicate that value to the consumers through marketing communications as they choose amongst various alternatives. And finally, we have to distribute the products and services so that consumers can find and purchase them. All of this type of activity is based on consumer behavior, and of course, we could use marketing research as a great tool to help us develop the information to study consumer behavior. Now, there's a lot more to know about consumer behavior, and for those of you who may be taking marketing as a major or a minor, there's an actual course in consumer behavior where you get to study all of the aspects of the influences of consumers as well as this decision-making process. You get to study it in detail and learn more about it. But hopefully this brief introduction will get you started in your study of consumer behavior.